It's just like having another BF sword cheap plus all the mana. So it's an amazing item.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
like
go ahead, Quill.
looks like what you're getting is it assembles from a Tear of the Goddess plus a longsword plus 500 gold. Well, you're getting the bonuses from the Tear of the Goddess and the longsword. So the 500 gold is giving you the 2% of your max mana is converted to attack damage, and whenever you attack, you gain 1 max mana. Like, that's a lot for 500 gold. That is really, really strong.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. I think it's a great item. I agree with both of you. One thing to note is the Guardian Angel now revives champions at 750 health and 375 mana instead of 40% of their health and mana, which makes it a little less ridiculous on tanks. And the Regrowth Pendant cost was reduced again. I believe it used to be 475, then 450, now it's 435. And the Philosopher's Stone has a new recipe. Fairy Charm plus Regrowth Pendant plus 185, which reduces the cost of it down to 800, making it, I think, maybe a decent item on certain champs who need a little bit of both health and mana regen early.
Presumably the bonus that it gives you is the same as before?
Yeah, the gold is still the same.
And the regen?
22.5, yeah, and 10, yeah.
Wow, no, that's pretty cool. Because Philosopher's Stone has a problem in that potentially it can be quite weak. It's very appealing early on in the laning phase, but late game it doesn't have as much of a purpose. And one of the things people have often said is it would be nice if you could upgrade the Philosopher's Stone into something. But at this point it's starting to get so cheap that, I don't know, it's kind of compelling.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of general, there's one thing that I want to talk about is towers currently attacking a champion will no longer respond to further calls for help from other champions. So as far as my understanding of that, is that like when they target a champion now, they won't untarget that champion when someone else attacks.
Yeah, okay, towers are going to be considerably more dangerous.
Yeah, so I think you can't like switch the tower's target mid tower dive. Mid podcast, we can't switch our targets. That's so clever.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, anyway, I think that's about it for the patch notes. Anything you guys want to mention that we missed?
Not for me.
I don't think so. I did notice, actually, when you were talking about Muno, you forgot to mention they also added he heals 70% now instead of 50% on his ultimate.
Oh, at the max level, right? Or is that at all levels?
Yeah, you're right. Max level. So
okay, but still, that's a lot of his. It's a lot of your fucking health.
It's a ton.
It was actually nerfed slightly at rank 1, which will make his laning a little bit less strong.
Yeah, but I guess you're right. So one thing I just want to talk about with the Guardian Angel debuff, and we can talk about the Guardian Angel now a little bit since we're just going to talk about it. I just want to mention like the more tanky metagame. I know I've seen it. Me and Quill have seen it at least in our non-ranked games. Colby, you've been playing ranked, so you might be seeing something completely different.
Yeah.
Colby, you want to chime in? You got anything to say? Like, have you been seeing them really, like, I've been seeing, like, physical DPS, like, last game we had a champion, like, what's her name? The new girl, Misfortune, with, Guardian Angel.
Yeah,
whereas, I think a couple months ago you wouldn't have seen that.
I still see it pretty much. I haven't really seen a drastic change on it because it's still an amazing item. I mean, it's like you die and then it's like you get a lasagnas for a couple seconds and then you come back. So even with the health lowered slightly, depending on what type of build you have, obviously on tanks it's not as ridiculous, but 750, that's 40%. You usually have around 2,000 health on a carry anyways. So you're not losing out a lot by getting it on a carry. So I think it's a great item, to get still, regardless.
Quill?
Yeah, well, I'm actually sometimes a little bit on the fence about the Guardian Angel because if you're way behind in the game, I find that it doesn't help. Like, you'll die in a fight, and you're going to pop up and they're just going to kill you again. And if you're way, way ahead, that's often when it's the best, but arguably you may not need it that much when you're ahead. Of course, it is a strong item, but I just find there's so many games you get it, and the ability just doesn't come up. Either you don't die, or you die and you die again anyway, and it doesn't make a difference, or I'm not sure. So, but in terms of the nerf for it, I don't think it's going to impact how often it comes up. And in terms of the tanky medic game, that is definitely a big thing. A lot of people are stacking survivability. It's very strong, and in fact, Riot's nerfed that several times already. The amount of health you get from items, I believe, shortly after beta ended, they sort of universally cut the amount of health you get from all items by like 25% or something like that, just because it was so strong. And they're still pretty strong. And there are very few characters that I see that, like, maybe Master Yi never takes any defensive items. He just stacks pure offense, and a handful of others. And everyone else, there's at least been one game where I see them stack a lot of defense, and it seems to be pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just, like, one thing I say, like, move speed is one of the things, along with health. There's, like, no champions that I know of that don't want more of both of those. Health is obviously a lot easier to achieve and more universally good, because eventually late game move speed isn't good because you have to get into combat anyway. But, like, there's just Guardian Angels everywhere I've been seeing. And one thing I want to talk about with Guardian Angel is the mental aspect of it, though.
Yes.
When you see someone with a Guardian Angel, you're like, oh fuck, I need to kill this guy twice. You know, if we all focus him, then we're going to have 4 other champions beating our ass, and then he's going to come back and we're going to have 5 champions beating our ass.
Oh, I agree with that. I hate it. It's so psychological.
Yeah, that's one of the main things. And if you see a team, like, I've seen teams with 5 fucking Guardian Angels, and you just think to yourself, you're like, how the fuck are we literally supposed to win this? Like, who the fuck are we supposed to kill here? Even the goddamn DPS is like a dual DPS champion.
Yeah, I do that when I play Garen, and I've had a good start. I try to get a Guardian Angel pretty quick, because he's such a good pub stomper. And the thing is, I look at it and I think, yeah, but I could also get, for the cost, I could practically get another Sunfire Cape, and those are pretty ridiculous against, these pubs as well. But it's that psychological presence. When people see you with that buff, they're pretty likely to just want to surrender.
Yeah.
If you've got a good record at that point, they're like, oh, game over.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I want to talk about in terms of that. I just wanted to kind of mention seems to me like the metagame's got a lot of HP in it right now. And we'll move on to free this week. Does anyone want to take the helm on this one and start it out?
Go ahead, Colby.
Okay. Yeah. So this week we got. I'll talk about Morgana. She's probably the one I played the most out of all of the free champions. And I don't know. I hear good and bad about her. You see a lot of people say, she's not as great in high level. A lot of people are getting her lower. I've seen her banned quite a bit lately, actually, because not a lot of people. She and if she's played right, she can be a game changer. She's meant to be built, in my opinion, as kind of a tanky caster, like not with armor and magic resist, but with a Rod of Ages.
Yeah,
that way you can run into the middle of everybody, pop your ult, and you're kind of like an Amumu that just is a little harder to get it to stun off on, But what makes or breaks her is being able to get off that skill shot with her Q, and then place that little crazy pull underneath people's feet. And I think that's what you see. The big difference between good Morganas and bad Morganas is those two things. Is the bad ones, they just want to stand back and be like a nuker, and the good Morganas will run into the fight with their Zanya's ring and and high HP and just stun everybody and do lots of damage. So, yeah, I think she's an amazing pick.
I think Morgana's really strong. I mean, especially against weaker champions, like, she reminds me a lot of Veigar in the fact that she does the stun and then the pool, the thing under the feet, like the stupid pool or whatever, whereas Veigar does the stupid stun and then the goddamn thing from the sky.
Yeah.
Great, I'm fucking standing here and some shit's about to own me.
Yeah, anytime you get hit by a Morgana stun and there's their team's close by, it's like, oh shit, I'm done.
Just speaking of the Guardian Angel, I believe if she dies with the Guardian Angels on while she's doing her ultimate, it keeps going, doesn't it?
I think they fixed that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that would be ridiculous.
It was a big thing for a while. Yeah. Nunu would do the same thing, and there may have been a few others. Like any move you were doing, like Garen when he was doing his Justice or Judgment, and he was spinning around. If he died and he had his Guardian Angel, it would just keep spinning.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is ridiculous.
Okay, cool. You want to go next on your champ?
Sure. My pick was Sivir. who is one of my favorite characters, especially starting out. I find she's very, very easy to play, and she's often she's underrepresented. I don't see Sivir get played very often, but she's such a fantastic pusher, and she won't come out with like a 6-6 record usually because she doesn't have a stun and she doesn't really have burst damage, but she can farm down a minion wave in 2 seconds flat, and when she pops her ultimate, she can actually take down a turret in a considerable amount of time. And of course, her ultimate is also a fantastic team buff, and it's one of those invisible things. You don't really see it. It's not a big AoE stun. It's nothing like that. So you're not necessarily aware of what it's doing, but it's huge, and I really think she's fantastic, and she deserves to get played more. She does have a fairly short range as a ranged character, but her skill shot boomerang makes up for that. It's not a very difficult skill shot to use because it does pass through everything and does damage in both directions. So I'm a big fan of her. I usually just max the boomerang first and start off with a Meki pendant, maybe build it into a Chalice of Harmony if you don't have any mana regen runes. Although now maybe you'd consider the Philosopher's Stone since it's not particularly expensive. And then
Or the Manamune.
yeah, or the Manamune actually, which I have not played her since the new item came out. Actually, that sounds amazing. And then after that, frankly, I think the recommended items they have listed for are very strong. I really like getting a Stark's Fervor for her because I build her as sort of a little bit of a support champion. The idea is, stick with your team and blow your ultimate, and then between that and your Stark's Fervor, your team's going to destroy people. If you've got some physical people, if you're in a team of casters, she's not going to contribute as much, in which case she's not necessarily the ideal, but I think she does really, really well, and she's really easy to play, and she pushes phenomenally well.
That's a great breakdown. One thing I want to note is that they did debuff, not that recently, but they've been debuffing her standard attack range. It used to be much, I think at least 500. It's like 400 or something now.
It is quite short. And actually, the biggest debuff I feel they did to her, which is a few patches ago, they basically nerfed every single item that was a part of her standard build for me. Like, I always got Berserker Greaves, I got Stark's Fervor, a lot of times I would get Aegis, and basically every item I got, they nerfed. And I thought, well, this sucks. They didn't touch her skills, but I still think she's pretty good.
Yeah, the most annoying type of Sivir I play against is the one that doesn't actually throw the boomerang at you a lot, but gets those little bouncy blades, and like you're at half health without her ever hitting you once just by